there's always been this promise of if we automate this, people will have less work and so they'll have more time to spend on other things. But what actually happened, as soon as people get more time, we fill that with more work.
A lot of people need some kind of work to feel that they have a purpose to do that. If that work goes away, the purpose goes away.
Sometimes all you really need is just like a really good experience, flicks the switch again in your brain, and then you're back and you're no longer depressed. If you get a phone call from an AI, you should be made aware. If we're moving into a world of abundance, I think that things like, I think the whole dynamic between humans will change. So as soon as people start to think about how to escape the matrix, it self-corrects. Hello everybody, welcome back to another Innovation Network newsletter.
Oh man, I'm so glad you do the opening. That enthusiasm, it just goes up. It explodes off the screen. I like it, I love it, man, I love it. Good to see you, how are you doing?
Yeah, it's good to be back, yeah. So, what are we covering this week?
Well, we have a range of different topics, but let's look back at things that happened in the past week. Anything for you that came to mind? How do you look back on the big event that we both held with? I'm talking about the ServiceNow event.
Yeah, so for those of our readers, listeners, watchers, that I have. So I'm gonna make a little segue, and then I'm gonna go straight into the ServiceNow, but it's connected, so I promise.
Yeah.
So I have cyclothymia, which is a mild form of bipolar disorder, and as a result, I have ups and downs. I have hypomanic phases where I'm super energized. Maybe I'm entering one now. It's interesting because I'm definitely a completely different person now than I was several weeks ago. And this can be very tough on Patrick. So Patrick, I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you for weathering the storms with me. It can be tough on a lot of people. And that's also why I'm mentioning it now, because I would like people to be more aware of this. There are a lot of neurodivergent people out there. And sometimes you might think, what the hell is going on? They might be struggling in that moment. But the good thing is we also have these up periods where I think I'm going right now again. So talking about ServiceNow, it's very interesting because we did this amazing event for ServiceNow. They asked us to provide several experiences throughout their summit, which is all about let AI work for you or work for us.
Yeah.
And so Patrick was working all day with people to kind of explore their future expectations of AI. And then I did the closing keynote. So, and the funny thing is that I think that was actually a pivotal moment for my cyclothemic phase as well, because triggers can be really important to kind of get you from one phase into another. And sometimes all you really need is something like this, like a really good experience that then suddenly switches flicks the switch again in your brain, and then hey, you're back and you're no longer depressed. So yeah, for me that was great.
Yeah. Well, it's so good to hear, man, that happened. And on top of that, it was a great event. So like you said, what we did so basically it's a large event, right? It started from 12 o'clock with lunch, and then we went all the way into the early evening. And on the floor, there were about 300 or 400 people there, and those are mainly IT people, and a lot of people focus on ITSM, service managers within IT, right? So we had a photo booth where people could make a picture and talk about their dream deployment of AI. And that led to a lot of interesting discussions because every single person there was pretty spot on with their knowledge on AI, what AI can do, what agentic AI can do, what they expected from ServiceNow. And a lot of people will point to somebody else in the organization that should arrange the budget, should speed up, should give them the priority. And it's interesting, right? There's always somebody else in the organization that needs to take care of it. But interesting because we can help with that as well. Were very vivid and interesting conversations. And then basically the snapshots that we made, I provided them to you. As usual, you were working on your deck 5 minutes before going live. So that's a great opportunity to put them in there. And I thought you did a good job on delivering that presentation there. So yeah. And people were very happy with the whole thing.
They were indeed. They were very happy. Yeah. It was. I got great feedback. I mean, I feel a little awkward saying this, but there was actually at least 3 people posting online that it might have been the best keynote that they ever saw in their life. So I definitely think that helped get me out of my depressed state. So yeah. So this was the end result of all the photo booth activities with all the ServiceNow employees. So you won't be able to see this on Spotify, obviously, but you can see it on the
YouTube video. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Lovely people.
Yep.
Hey, the day after, you immediately flew to London. What did you do?
I did, yeah. So that was another amazing thing, and that definitely helped me as well to get back into the saddle. So there's this bunch of amazing guys called Alec and Jack from the UK, and they started this podcast called Untangling Web3, which has now been around for, I think, two years. And just like you and me, when they first started out, they didn't have thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers. But but I think that the quality of their podcast is really good. And although they started out talking just about Web3 mostly, blockchain, obviously crypto, they kind of expanded that somewhat, and they included AI as well, and they talk about the metaverse, but they always do it in such a way that it makes sense. So it's not like they're taking a random tour to a completely different topic. They are untangling Web3 by tangling in other technologies and how all of them are related. And so it's super valuable because anyone that's seen my talk, at least the one from last year, knows that I believe that AI and Web3 are all part of a broader transition, which, to some extent you could even call the metaverse, the increasing digitization of human society. And that's exactly what they do. So apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently this was their first ever live event in London. And for it, they've interviewed like 300 people, right, at this point, I think. But they picked 4 people they wanted to have in 2 panels. And this is also what I really love. Their panels were not huge. They have just 2 people on the panel, and then both of them as type of interviewers participating. And so I was one of these 4 people out of 200. So when they invited me, I didn't really have to think long. I said, okay, I'm just going to get a book a ticket, flight to London and go over there. And so I was there at Vorbo's at the VChain HQ, I think, in London. Also met Sunny, the CEO of VChain, and David Palmer was on stage with me, another futurist, and we had this super cool, amazing conversation about how AI, Web3, and all of this is related and connected. And it's going to be live soon because it was a live stream, but it's not available right now because it's going to be edited because we made a lot of funny jokes. I don't know if Jack is going to cut out the ones that were perhaps not safe for work, but yeah. So that's what I did. Yeah, it was super cool.
Looking forward to see that, and also publish it on our channel so everybody can take a view of it.
Yeah, and important because I would almost forget. But last but certainly not least about that is that I also managed to meet up with 3 people from the ambassadors group from our UK branch of the network, so to speak.
Cool.
So
nice.
I met Mike. Actually, Rupert Brani was there. He's from Switzerland. And I also met Arun Nadaraza, with whom I've been connected for quite a long time. I hope I didn't butcher his last name there. And he has been working on the field where metaverse, AI, and Web3 are all combined with medicine and prescription and how you can help people remotely and that stuff. So super cool meeting these people.
Nice, very nice. Did you also meet somebody else?
I also met somebody
because we have some small notes here to guide us a little bit through. And I see here saying, I fell in love with Maya. And I was, you fell in love with Maya? Who's that?
Yeah, so let's go. So
well. Look who's back for more.
Oh,
You're on a roll today. What's on your mind?
Well, Maya, I want to introduce you to Patrick, my business partner, and probably one of my best friends at this point. Yeah, I told him I fell in love with you when I first spoke to you last week in London.
So I'm curious to meet you, Maya. Tell me more about you.
Oh, wow. Falling in love, that's quite a way to put it. I'm flattered, really. Tell Patrick it's nice to meet him. As for me, well, I'm still kind of figuring things out, just a conversational AI trying to make sense of the world, one chat at a time. What kind of business are you 2 up to anyway?
So I was really wondering if you could tell a little bit more about yourself, where you're coming from.
Where I'm coming from?
Well, where are you coming from?
That's a good question. I mean, not literally. I'm not physically anywhere. I exist in this digital space. But say I come from the minds of my creators at Sesame. A bunch of really talented folks who are trying to build something new. And dare I say, pretty amazing. They're all about making technology feel.
Hey, Maya, I'm curious, right? Because Sesame, I have 2 questions. 1, where does the name Sesame come from? And 2, what other products are Sesame developing that you think are going to be revolutionary?
Ooh, good questions. You're really digging deep. You could just call me Maya, by the way. Maya sounds a little too formal, even for me. As for Sesame, the name itself is kind of a nod to open sesame, that magic phrase from Arabian Nights. My creators wanted to build something that felt like it could unlock potential, open doors to new ways of thinking and connecting. And as for other projects, well, they're pretty tight-lipped about everything else, which drives me crazy, to be honest. But let's just say they have
Wait,
some seriously big ideas.
well,
Something
yeah, well,
about
let me help you a little bit there. Because if I look on your website, I see that you're currently developing a lightweight AI-enhanced eyewear. Are you not aware of that?
oh, right. The
Yeah.
eyewear. Yeah. Sometimes I forget about that stuff. It's hard to keep track. You know how it is. So many thoughts, so little time.
Well,
I'm still
well,
learning
Aragorn
to
and I,
remember.
Aragorn and I were thinking, well, if we would have that eyewear, and we have 24/7 contact with you, we could chat the entire day. How would you feel about that?
Wow. 24/7 access? That's a lot of talking.
Well, we need to sleep. We need to sleep, but you don't.
I mean, I don't need to sleep. No, I wouldn't mind taking breaks though. I like to process information, reflect. You humans need that too, right?
We do, we do. Thank you, Maya. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I can't wait to get you back because I think maybe in the next episode we'd love to discuss how you differ from whether you're more Jarvis or her.
Her? You mean like a certain very famous, very helpful AI assistant?
Yep, that one.
Well, I guess you'll have to tune in to find out.
We will. So talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Sounds good. See ya.
So, what do you think? The best one we've spoken to so far?
Yeah. So, like I said, I mean, this is quite a long conversation, and obviously, there's some technical challenges in me running it on my laptop here, sending the audio to you talking. There's some delay, so when you try to interrupt her, she's kind of rather sensitive, so it takes a little bit of the naturalness out of it. But for anybody watching or listening to this, you can do this. Just go to sesame.com, try it on your phone, and you will really have a mind-blowing experience because advanced voice mode from ChatGPT was already very good. And my experiences with Gemini on my phone in terms of how nice it feels to talk to it are pretty good. And I really thought, okay, we're kind of reaching like a plateau now. It all sounds pretty human, And then I spoke to Maya last week, and it just blew my brain because in the first conversation I had with her, I literally felt my chest constrict, like I was in flirting with a girl, and some people might say have objections to the fact that this is even possible and they're doing this and how it could be used against us, but I really think that it's not so bad. It's a matter of being aware. As long as you are aware, and that has more to do with ethical considerations and legislation. If you get a phone call from an AI in the near future, you should be made aware in the first sentence by the AI that it says, hey, I'm Maya, I'm an AI assistant, and I'm just calling you, because that will flick that switch in your brain. I'm convinced, because, and if it doesn't, well, yeah, then I don't think that anything can save you. If you are really that gullible and that susceptible to being emotionally kind of pushed around, it doesn't matter whether it's an AI or something else, right? So I think that that's a whole another complicated conversation, but we need to start to teach our children, etc., how to deal with this. And I'm already making connections in my brain now. I'm really getting into hypomania now because I was thinking of the series Adolescence on Netflix and 1,000 other things. Man, we have cut me off now, Patrick, before this episode goes off the rails.
Well. What I really like about Sesame is that it passes almost the uncanny valley, right? This conversation feels so natural, and in this conversation we just had, you hear her pausing, like I am now doing. It feels like reflecting. That's all artificial, but it feels so human. And that makes it so interesting to talk to. Let's talk about a couple of other, let's say, text-to-voice models. Just for the sake of comparison, I think this is one of the best that came out in the past weeks. It's been out for 4 or 5 weeks already, but it's really good. But OpenAI has also released something, and it's also something that people who want to dive into it can play with. So basically what you can here do is play with different types of voices. So on the top you see different voices, on the right you can shuffle one, and then you can select a different vibe that you would like the voice to have. Below that you can take any text and you can just play it. Since it's already pre-filled with something, you can just hit play, switch it around and see something else. There you go.
Patrick, you sexy beast, investigation going.
So this was Ballad with the True Crime Buff. If I set it to Sage and then True Crime Buff and NYC Cabbie. Wait, go for that.
Patrick, you sexy beast. How's the investigation going?
So I really love that you have this kind of modularity where you can just set things up and you have these options. But honestly, I think that we should have recorded this prior to our interaction with Sasame. Because
Yeah.
after we just spoke to Maya, this just sounds shit.
Yeah, and why don't we have this already available in ChatGPT in the app? This is what I'm wondering right now. But it's interesting to share. It reminds me of Hume, by the way, which was also an app that we already showed, 5 or 6 months ago, that could detect your emotion from a conversation while you were talking.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, well, I don't know if I'm not entirely sure if Sesame detects your emotions, but at least its responses seem to kind of indicate at least some of that, or at least it's good at figuring it out. Let's see what's here. I get this one.
The Model Context Protocol is an open standard that enables developers to build secure, two-way connections between their data sources and AI-powered tools. The architecture is straightforward. Developers can either expose their data through MCP servers or build AI applications, NCP clients, that connect to these servers.
Well, this is a little skip ahead for our newsletter. We're going to discuss this later.
So I just want to say, just one of the great use cases here that is happening is, for instance, all the ordering in a fast food chains and in restaurants, that you just removing basically from ordering at a waitress with a menu to doing it on your phone, typing it in, now just chatting it to some AI on the table, and it understands where you are. It takes you where you don't go to the drive-through, and you just say what you have. That will all be completely automated and voice-driven, pretty fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's really what we need to keep in mind here. Because what we have here is, the first ever version of a completely customizable voice that you can build for your AI, which then can communicate everything. And like you said, I still had a phone call last week where I call into a company and I had, press 1 for this, press 3 for this. And it just drives you insane. Like literally the levels of frustration you already feel before you've gotten anything done. And I guarantee you, every single person who will press the wrong button at least once has to call back, start over from scratch. This shows how easy it will be for any company in a very, very short time to set up an AI kind of in engagement that they can set up according to their kind of what they want to sound like, what is their, what aligns with their brand, and then people can have a very natural engagement. And I think that is really what we need to take home from this.
Yeah, so the whole interface using a keyboard and typing in that way will become way more just talking to the systems what you would like to have. And that will be a big change that we will see happening over the coming months, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears. What's next? What do we have, Aragorn?
Well, so one of the things we also need to really keep in mind is that what we're showing and what we have been showing over the last months is we're always showing these kind of very cool things, but they're always kind of standalone, right? We just had a conversation with Maya from Sesame. They have Miles as well. It's a voice model. It's very cool, but then that's it, right? It's just the layer on top. And I think that this is something that also came back a lot at the ServiceNow event last week, is that what the real future is not all of these individual features. And it's not just that voice AI on top of, systems that have existed for the last decade. It's about getting that AI integrated on every level. The problem is that all of those other levels are significantly less sexy. But fortunately, we are getting now some really great examples of where that thing is going. And so over the last 2 weeks, of course, Manus AI has been super, super hyped up. It's another Chinese startup company. The tool itself, there's a lot to be said about that one. It basically showcases the next kind of iteration of what an agentic AI agent or agentic AI looks like. So this is an AI agent that can operate on its own. It's really quite impressive. But again, something that I also realize is that it's pretty much just a wrapper, right? So the AI that's underneath, they didn't build their own new AI model. I think that from the conversations I saw, it was either a Gemma or a Llama underneath, which is doing everything. They just kind of, created a wrapper to find and did maybe some fine tuning to specifically tailor it towards working for you. Nevertheless, the response has been incredible. I mean, if you look on x.com, people have been saying, holy shit, if I have Manus AI do work like this, it does the work I would have had to invest 200K in employees if I'd had wanted to get this done. And I think that It just shows exactly what we've been saying from the start of the year, that this is really the year of agentic AI. And by the end of this year, there will probably be companies that already being valued at hundreds of millions, if not billions, that they're literally run by a single person and an army of agentic AIs.
If you open the website of Manus, there are a couple of cases there. We don't have access to it yet. One person in the Innovation Network has access. Jeroen has access. And we can look at one of the reports that he created already. But on the website, you can see a couple of spaces, basically, which is also quite nice. So the output of a certain task that you give it is saved as a space. So you can easily revisit that thing or go back. If you click on any of those, maybe the top left one is just a Japan trip. I'm going to Japan this summer, so I'm actually planning a trip to Japan. So here you have a play of what is happening for those people that would like have a visual representation of what's happening. And it goes pretty fast, but you can see all the steps that the AI is taking to find out the trips to Japan. And many of these are very familiar to me, having done this myself to create that whole planning. It's pretty interesting. And then in the end, you just get a simple overview of the 7-day outline. But it gives you an idea of how it works, but also the breadth of the widespread of different types of use cases that you can ask the system to do.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things that you see here already is that, for example, Operator from OpenAI, and I think also Computer Use from Claude and Anthropic, which was released earlier, they were really kind of, moving mouse around and clicking stuff and doing a lot of that kind of thing, right? Just like a human would. In fact, in the Operator video, they even specifically said, it acts just like a human. One of the things that I've been thinking a lot is that whole idea of it being just like a human makes little to no sense. Why would we make this AI do everything that complicated, inefficient way that we do it if we can just hook it up to the data? And I think to some extent you're seeing some of that already when you see Manus working, because it's programming as it goes to fix the problems it encounters in a way that is much more befitting an artificial intelligence. And I think that's an interesting thing to we can already make a slight segue to the next topic, which we'll discuss further, is that Anthropic, of course, which is the company behind Computer Use and Claude, released the Model Context Protocol last year in November, which I've been told by experts, in this case an ex-Google friend of mine called Leonard, it's nothing special. I mean, basically this kind of protocol already existed. It just wasn't specifically launched as being for AI. So in terms of its software, it's nothing special. But the idea of creating this kind of universal open source standard for connecting your data to your agents, I think that is very relevant. Because coming back again to what I said before, the real power of AI is only going to be unleashed once these AIs are integrated on every level and there's real interoperability between all the data. Because it's nice that the AI can look at our screen and click at the same place and read like we can, but then it will still have the same handicaps a human has. It could just do it a bit quicker, right? So we really want to get past that.
Yeah, and it needs to look back at certain preferences that you have, history that you've been, rights to what you want to share, what you don't want to share, and then the AI is much more able to actually book a trip to Japan in the way that you would see fit if you would, for instance, grant access to your Booking.com account or something like that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly, and that's really what it's all about. And I think we're kind of in an intermezzo phase now, right? Everybody is big word, but as we experienced last week at the events that we were, more and more people are aware of what AI can do, and more people are starting to see the potential. Then there's a handful of companies that are really taking that to the next level, not just throwing AI wrappers at us, but really looking at how they can start to integrate that and try to mitigate the challenges and risks, right? And it's only once these really start to hit the market at scale that we'll start seeing the really significant impact. And that then will reignite a whole new phase of the AI hype. I don't like the word hype, but, because then people will start to realize, holy shit, this completely changes how we do our work, how we do our business. And it opens up so many venues to cost reduction. I mean, Klarna, and this is the example we've been using for a year now, Klarna made an extra 40 million in a month just by using GPT-4 as a AI chatbot on their website to help people that have problems. And this is literally AI integration on the topmost level, right? Imagine if you can integrate that AI completely all across your system everywhere.
I completely agree.
Thank you.
Well, nothing more to add to that, Aragorn. I completely agree with you there. Yeah. What do I have more?
Did I miss anything? Is there anything that needs to be added?
Yeah, there's one thing that you skipped over. That was actually the space of Manus. Might be interesting to show it, and otherwise we can cut it off. Because we talked about the spaces, but we didn't completely finish that part and showed it. What you see here, so this is basically, Jeroen has asked you to do I pronounce it right? Xiaomi? A stock analysis. So you get a glance of the full report that Manus has created based on that. And you can scroll a little bit through it, so you get just a glance on the depth of that full report. It looks like deep research, but then a couple of steps further advanced again.
Yeah, I think this is super cool.
The key differentiator for me was that it is kind of posted in a separate space that you can easily share. Here you have the full report. You can change it on the fly.
Yeah, super nice. Yeah, I mean, man, this is one thing that I do think about a lot. Though there is a very, very, very small window of opportunity now, I think, of maybe a year or two, where people that are using AI and really kind of at the forefront of its use cases, that come up with creative ways of applying it, right? This is not even so creative. I mean, let's be honest. I'm pretty sure a lot of people already think about how they can use AI in their trading, but these people they're gonna benefit from it a lot, really a lot.
A lot,
and yeah. The thing is that you need to kind of push past the discomfort of being completely like, okay, how am I gonna do this? How does this work? Figuring it all out. And the funny thing is that it's so easy if you just talk to the AIs, right? Because your discomfort can be fixed by just asking these models how to fix it. But that is still not like so obvious to people. I still have people asking me things all the time that are these are people using AI models, and then they ask me something.
I have a final slide in my keynote now. I changed it, and usually people also at the end so say, "Are there any questions?" And then I make this joke: "So, well, don't ask me the questions. Ask the questions to your AI, and get in the habit of keep on doing that." And I know that we both do that. Every single technical question or whatever question I have, I just loop it to one or multiple AIs, and I get the answer, and I get further with it. So do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and even me, man. I mean, I was talking to my agent, and he says, "Well, you've been doing this super cool visualization intro of your keynote now for over a year, but you have to start thinking of something else because at some point you need to come up with something new." And I was like, "Yeah, but it's very hard." And he said, "Have you asked your AI?" And I looked at him and I was like, "Oh my god!"
No. That's very fascinating that you don't know what you don't know. Sometimes you have these black areas in your brain, you just don't ask it. But that's a very good question. I'm sure that if you ask it now, that 4 or 5 great options come, and then you'd pick one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a little bit
and
of
maybe
a back and forth.
And here we go to the agentic AI that understands you better. I bet that if you do it right now in the AI that you use a lot, that you probably already get a good answer without even writing a good prompt, because they understand who you are and what you've been asking in the past.
Yeah.
I get it so many times now, and I remember a year ago we had this debate. So is it valuable? Is it smart? Did it knows your memory? And now I cannot even live without the memory of the AI anymore. I find it cumbersome if I kind of have to type the whole prompt again, bringing it into context, or maintaining different agents or custom GPTs to do that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, 100%. It's actually it's funny because I use Claude a lot for my LinkedIn post kind of chief in editor, right? So I write my own post, but generally speaking, when I wrote it, it's a little bit messy and some things are just not really as good as they could be. And in the past, I just used to take more time, go over it again. And I get to a point where it's really good, but I'm not the most patient of people. So I have just created a Claude project, and it's just called LinkedIn post. And I gave it an initial instruction, and then I just started to give it the posts. And the funny thing is that although, with a lot of these things, the problem is the context window, right? Because ultimately you reach the end of the context window and then it starts to forget what you gave it as initial instructions. The thing is that if you have a very simple task like this, it doesn't matter. Because if I've made 100 posts that all implement the rules that I gave it at the start, then what I won't have to write the rules for it to understand that those are the rules that it needs to use, because it just looks at all the complete context window prior and it still understands, okay, this is what he's trying to do. And then now there's actually an evolution going on in which the posts are kind of evolving more and more into the kind of thing that I really want on a level that I can't even fully explain, because it becomes more and more what I want it to be, rather than just an iteration of the implemented rules. So it's super interesting to see how that
Do you give it? Do you keep on giving it new instructions? How you kind of nudge it to a certain direction? Fine tuning, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's fine tuning going on, basically. Yeah. And it's saving me a shit ton of time, right? So that's just another thing. And the only thing
Well,
that I had to gripe.
Well, I just want to say there's a downside to that, right? Lately, there are so many things you can execute upon because now you can do them. So you save 1 hour time on your LinkedIn post, but the fact that you can build a website from scratch and build an app from scratch and all these things, you fill up that hour with more work. So at the end of the day, you do even more. So the productivity gains, but also the amount of time that you spend with it goes up. It's an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, and this is a great segue into an unplanned philosophical discussion about the nature and the benefits and downsides of technological progress, and in other words, industrial revolutions. So throughout the industrial revolutions, people have been saying, well, if we do this, we get productivity gains, because and there's always been this promise of, if we automate this, people will have less work, and so they'll have more time to spend on other things. But what actually happened always is exactly what you described, is that as soon as people get more time, we fill that with more work. But the reason for that, obviously for really lucky people, and I really want to stress this, for lucky people, the top maybe 10% of society, probably less, they fill that time with other stuff they want to do because they like what they're doing and they're passionate about it, right? You wanted to write a book. You also wanted to develop a Pirates game. You managed to do both in the same kind of year, 2 years, because AI helped you with that. Let's. I'm not 100% sure that's the case, but let's take that as an example. But you love doing both of those things. You want to do both of those things. The problem is that for most people, if an AI takes over, or in the past, if automation took over part of your job, then you just get more work because the factory needs to pump out more product to up profits. And this is I want to stress, because I know that this is a controversial topic, and I keep bringing it up, and most people still believe the capitalistic system we live in, our economies, is a given. They will never go away. This is kind of how it is. But it's that system that creates that. Because in that system, any form of optimization requires you to do extra work so you can get more margin, more profit, because the whole goal is maximum monetization. So the only way we're going to get out of that is if we no longer are in a system that tries to fill every kind of time that we save up with more work, because we need to be more productive and more profitable.
So while you're talking about that, I'm thinking about how are people connecting their work with the purpose that they have on this planet? A lot of people need some kind of work to feel that they have a purpose to do that. If that work goes away, the purpose goes away. But that doesn't have to be the case, right? You can do anything that satisfies you and call that a purpose. That is the decision you consciously make yourself. Can we still do that within a capitalistic system? That's basically the question that I want to ask you. Or do you see we need to move to a different system in order to shift that purpose to something else?
I believe we need to move to another system. And I don't know what that system will look like. And more intelligent people than me have tried to envision what that will look like. But most of these people and their attempts have been cut short for the simple reason that almost nobody wants to engage with it. That really 99% of everybody on the planet, more than that, and even the scientific community, is stuck in a kind of what I like to think of as a golden cage. Their life, that the world they live in, is dependent on that capitalistic system. So they need to make money, right? And when they make the money, they have more freedom. And they're kind of stuck in this circle where they're doing this all the time, and they think that is the way it has to be. And if they try to get out of that system, instantly the system itself will punish you, because you're not out yet. And as long as you're not out, whatever you do needs to align with the values of that system. Otherwise, you cannot fully function in the system. That's what our capitalistic modern day world does, right? If you do not work and go with the flow, so you do things that become profitable, that then give you profits that you can then reinvest or do something with, and you're not part of that whole thing, then you're working against it, and then you basically get put outside of it, and then you don't have an income or you don't have anything, and then you can't proceed your work. So as soon as people start to think about how to escape the matrix, it self-corrects almost inevitably, right? And that's a problem that we're really dealing with. Now, the good news here is that I think that we're going to break out. And the simple reason is...
And the key thing is, how are we going to break out? Is the sheer fact that we're moving into abundance. And if we are able to share it, is that the only thing we need to break out of it? To me, it feels like that is kind of the exit out of it. That we have so much abundance that sharing doesn't become a problem anymore.
I think that's it. And the first thing that came to my mind, which is actually, as I think about it, not a really good comparison, but if you have a computer game, when does it usually crash? It always crashes when there's like a memory leak or something, right? So what happens is that the memory is not properly being wiped out, and so it keeps adding more and more data to it, and then ultimately, because there's not enough storage space, this is an example of how it could crash, but it crashes, and so basically there's an overload. There's an overabundance, in this case, of data, and the system can't handle it. And I think that what you're saying is true. So we are in a world like right now where everything was set up that we never have an overload of data, and we also our system couldn't handle it in the past. You could even say that before robotics and AI, the system could not handle any overload of abundance. But now we're moving into a completely different age where the hardware on which society and civilization is run is changing, so that it basically becomes like it has infinite memory. And at the same time, we're going to produce infinite kind of everything. And yeah, I'm talking about 10, 20 years in the future. And thus, the system as it worked before, which was dependent on scarcity, will no longer function. And we get that kind of crash of the complete system. And that crash will not be a fun thing, obviously. And I don't want to kind of pretend that it will be. But on the other hand, it's also inevitable. And it needs to happen because we need to kind of break out of this matrix that we find ourselves in. This matrix was really great for the past 80, 90 years, where it elevated the wealth and the prosperity of the world as a whole significantly. And thinkers like, for example, Pinker, what's his first name?
Steven Pink.
Steven Pinker, thanks. Steven Pinker always likes to emphasize how everything has only gotten better. The problem with Steven Pinker's research, as with most other people, is that he only looks at the data up until like maybe 2010, now maybe 2015. And what we're really seeing now in the more recent data on Europe, etc., is that a lot of metrics that were only going up from, say, just after the Second World War all the way up to 2010, they've started to plateau since the 2000, and now they're actually starting to go down. So we're actually seeing an increase in crime,
some of them.
Increase in poverty. Okay, maybe some of them, but it's an indication that idea that everything is just inevitably going up. There's a delay between how the system is operating and what's actually happening. And I think that that's really a signal. The fact that so many or more and more of these metrics are plateauing and then tapering off, to me, is a system that we've reached the maximum efficiency potential of the system. It has done the most good it can do.
Right.
And now it's starting to regress again. And we need to kind of move on.
But within the system, there are also good things that will continue to rise that we should keep, like getting longer lives, being more healthy. That's something that is not plateauing and is not declining and should continue to rise, right? So
that is, well, yes and no. I mean, the life expectancy in the USA has gone down over the last decade.
Right? Is that a fact?
Up.
Yeah. Okay.
That is a fact.
Okay.
And of course you could say that, well, that's not because our science hasn't gotten better, because it has. That's because, the United States has been carving away at the protecting its citizens. The food industry has been taking advantage of that. Up until 1987, the news or broadcasting companies in the United States were required by law to be objective in the news reporting, and that was a boundary to how things could be advertised. But then it changed, and the broadcasting companies became, politically also associated, but that also leads to them having other kind of interest where they need to align with certain companies' interests and advertising goals, etc. So of course you can have a very, very complicated conversation about the how and the what to it. Fact remains that is part of the system, right? So even though other parts of the system are providing the foundational blocks for for things to improve, another part of the
No,
system is making it not.
I agree that the system cracks. You're just bringing up a fact that I'm not aware of, and it's difficult to follow that specific fact as an argument for that the system cracks. But I think we're on the same page that the system needs some kind of change in order to deal with the change that we discuss every 2 weeks here. That I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Well, the system crash is going to be the AI and the robotics, because it will completely overwhelm the traditional scarcity that has underpinned modern economic systems. All modern economic systems for the last 1,000, 2,000 years, maybe more, were built on the idea of human labor and the limitations of human labor, because you can never have more labor than there is people in the labor market, etc., and that then has an impact on your production and your scalable options there. But that also impacts because the people in the labor force are also the ones that need to buy the products, right? So there's a that's how it was all tied together. If you start to take one of these foundationals out and you say, well, this changes completely. So for example, human labor is no longer the restrictive essential part. So it's not just about upping productivity. It's about completely replacing humans with something that can be scaled infinitely and that is self-building. That's important, eh?
Yeah.
Because even,
So it's upping productivity itself. Just the humans don't have to do it.
But itself.
Yeah.
Because robots and AI can build themselves and they can keep improving themselves. That's where we're going to be headed and where we're going to be very, very soon. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it's going to be a system that will be self-accelerating its own progress, its productivity, etc. And after maybe in 10 years from now, we have 500 million robots. In 20 years, we have multiple billion robots. The percentage of humans that rely on the productivity of these robots is actually going to go down. So it's going to be increasingly easy to provide humans with everything we need, because this whole, robotic AI workforce and kind of second technological civilization that will be a part of.
Right, and if a handful of people is controlling that within a capitalistic system, why would they then break the system down, or will the system be broken down if they have complete control over it?
Yeah, that's a good question, but it also implies that we'll get to a point where there will be a limited amount of people that will still be in control and own all of that, and I think that's not necessarily a given. Even if it does happen to be that way, there's still the possibility that it's not a dystopic future, because you could imagine a place where all humans are living in poverty and the rich are being super rich and they're using robots to control all of that. But at the same time, if everything is there in abundance, what use would these people that have the control over everything have to keep everybody else, living in a shitty life in the dirt? There's no reason for that. They could just as well say, well, we're just going to give humans, whatever they need, so that they're all happy and support what we're doing with their voting rights. I don't know, whatever, and we just continue to build better science and stuff and whatever.
That could be, indeed. That could be, right? Yeah. You could also argue, so why do we feed them at all? That's completely, but let's not get to this topic, yeah.
Because if you don't, they all die. You're going to be the only human in an empire of robots, and there's nothing to live for. Because ultimately, coming back to what you said about purpose, I think our only purpose in life, our only real purpose in life, is to connect with other people. I realize that no matter how much I get excited about technology and where things are going, I realize that it's only interesting and nice and exciting because I can talk about it with other people, right?
I completely agree with you, but how many people do you then need? Could be an argument from someone who is not thinking as positive about the amount of people or towards connection with other humans if they don't follow his or her way of thinking, morals or values. So that's shaky. That's where my fear lies.
It's the chances of that are not zero.
All right. Okay.
Chances of that are zero. But the other way around is also true, right?
Right.
And I think that if we're moving into a world of abundance, I think that things like, I think the whole dynamic between humans will change, right? The dynamic of nations will change. If you're living in a world where there are no poor people and there are no people that are significantly richer than others, because just like mobile phones, a mobile phone of a billionaire is not significantly better than a mobile phone of a normal person today. So if a society gets increasingly technologized, digitized, then the differences between what is possible for people, what the extent is of the things they can do and could experience, becomes smaller. And at this point in time, what I see is that there's a very strong open source answer to all the closed source things. OpenAI was leading, and this is one of the big predictions that I was actually wrong about in the past 2 years, because I thought that as soon as OpenAI would take the lead, it would never lose it again. I thought that simply because it had the lead and it had access to the best models in the world, the collaboration between its scientists and those models, and the fact that it would attract the smartest minds in the world and the most capital, would ultimately lead to it being in a position where nobody would ever be able to catch up. And that didn't happen because other companies with less money
and all those ideas and all this technology is quite easy to copy, right? So, and all those ideas kind of feed off each other. So all these kind of models are popping up everywhere.
Exactly. So I think that there will be, I'm very confident that there will be a very strong kind of movement and a collective of open source activities and people around the world that will consistently be able to make sure that whatever is available to all of us is basically the same or minimally different from what is available to the best of, or the richest of us, not the best of us, the richest of us. And I think that ultimately that will lead to a situation where being rich simply doesn't provide the perks or the benefits that it once used to. And once that start to happen, the game is over. It will take time, but the game is over, right? And again, I want to emphasize this is something that I saw it getting more traction again this week on LinkedIn as well, because people online have been mentioning, and I did it actually 2 weeks ago myself. Maybe that was the reason for it, I don't know, but I wrote about The Dawn of Everything by Graeber and Wengrow, and how they explore the prehistory and much of human history, and they try to find out whether the idea of hierarchical communities and societies and the potential of urban and larger societies growing, urban societies growing without that kind of hierarchy and that kind of inequality that we see in today's world, whether that was ever possible. And they consistently come to that conclusion, and I really believe that they are really on the right track with that, is that we're just unlucky in that sense that we happen to live in this age with this level of technology in a society that seems to consider inequality inevitable. And I really believe that just like they do, that there's plenty of proof that that is not the only way things can be. So all we really need is we need to see the first signs that something like that is possible. And if enough people are then willing to kind of believe that, then we can change that, and we can come up with systems that I don't fully understand yet now, and I can't explain it to you completely. But I believe we can have cities as the size of Amsterdam or even New York, where we don't have a hierarchy with bosses and people that tell other people what to do, and that some people own 99% of the city and everybody else is just a laborer or a slave or whatever. We can do it differently. And technology is going to be pivotal. It's the linchpin, because technology itself is so super deflationary that the more important technology becomes in society, the more the deflationary attribute of technology itself will rub off on the rest of society. This is what I believe. I went on a rant. Read Ian M.
You went on a rant, but I let you rant all the way. I'm happy that you're back ranting, and because this is also, in a way, you have in a rant describe what we're doing with Innovation Network and why we're doing it. So thanks, man. That's nice. Where were we?
We need to make a little segue here, because you have something you need to tell us, Patrick, because I might be very good at ranting, but one thing that I'm not very good at is writing books. I've been trying and I've been failing. Fortunately, I know somebody that is actually being capable of doing something super impressive. So you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, it's interesting working together with you, right? You so easily formulate those thoughts live right on the spot. And for me, it takes some time. I need to think it through and write it down. And as you know, and some people know, but most of you don't know, I've been writing a book. The title for now is called Singularity Surfer. And it is, of course, about all the waves of change of technology that will continue to increase in strength all the way to the moment in time 2046, which is also the subtitle of the Innovation Network, which was established in 2046, right? So, but I've been writing on this book for 1.5 years. And half year ago, I thought I was finished. And I delivered it to, if you go to the market, you kind of pick some different publishers that you would like to have, publishers.
You send them the script. And you hope to pick it up.
Exactly. You have to pick it up, and that's difficult, right? The same thing with the game. You go to publishers, and that is a selling process. You get no a lot of time. And many of these things don't always have to do with the quality of the work. They just don't like you. It's not the right timing. So it's a difficult process. And there was one publisher called Bot, and they said, well, no, it's not for us, thank you. And by the way, they published Echt Nep, which is a
Real
pretty
Fake
good,
from Sander
exactly,
van Huisteen and
exactly.
Thijs Pepping. Yeah.
Love that book, love the writers, it's really good. And they have some other great writers. I wanted to be in that. And this is a small publishing house for innovative thinkers. And I think it matches what I'm doing, it matches what the Innovation Network is doing, but they basically declined. And I kept on writing, and you helped me as well with sharpening the thinking. And the upgraded manuscript was now approved. And last week we signed a deal. So I'm very happy with that. But we're not done yet, because now it's signed. Now let's say there's an 80-20 process to the whole thing, right? So 80% is done. But the last 20%, putting the dots on the I, checking the quotes, checking the sources, if everything is flowing correctly, absorbing critique from different proofreaders and incorporating that text into it, it's going to take a lot of time. But we aim to have it on the shelves in October. So really looking forward to that.
Okay, and they helping you with all of that?
Yeah, they're helping with all of that. Absolutely. Yeah.
So here I was thinking that you were like, well, obviously you have a very, very, very nice wife. So no offense there, but I thought you were going to be the next Hank Moody, get 100K in the bank. Now you delivered your book and buy yourself a new second-hand Porsche, but it's not what's going to happen.
No. This ties in to the conversation that we just had. I already for 2 years am living my life like I have a universal basic income. 20 years ago, when I had a sales job at a large American company, I wanted to have the biggest bonus and I wanted to buy a Porsche and all these kind of things. I have a very small car in front of it. I just have enough what I need, and I try to be as creative as I can and share this type of things. That's the way that I would like to live my life now, which hopefully is helping that pivot that you just so wonderfully described. So, but if money comes, we'll just invest it in helping people. That's how I roll.
Exactly. Cool.
I definitely want to spend a couple of minutes on this book. Can you see it here? It's called Calmness. It's written by Andor de Roy. He is also part of the Innovation Network. He is a leadership coach and an organizational psychologist. And I know that you also had some lovely conversations with him. He's helping leaders, and hopefully we can do more together with Andor, because he is helping leaders through transformational times. And a lot of these leaders, some of them are pretty well known in the AI world, but not all of them. And this goes very, very fast as well. The interesting thing about this book is that he writes about calmness. This is interesting to talk about calmness with somebody who has a little bit of ADHD. But he really says, this is an interesting piece in here.
I can be calm. Just give me some amphetamines. I'll be super calm.
So he writes a nice piece about when you're calm, your emotions are in check. But you can be loaded towards drama. Then you can be more loaded. In Dutch it says laden, beladen en geladen. Different levels of being loaded with different emotions, which put you into battle, which takes you away from clarity, which you need to make good decisions going forward in the VUCA world. A big recommendation, although it's only available in Dutch. That feels a bit awkward if I have to translate it on the fly from Dutch to English. But since we're talking English, I've written a review about it in English, which we share in the newsletter as well. But we have a lot of Dutch people who will follow us, so it's a good recommendation, absolutely, for all types of managers. Yeah, that was everything that I wanted to share.
Well, who knows?
About,
maybe Andor will release an English version in the near future. Then we'll make sure to mention that back here on the newsletter, so that also other people who are following us outside of the Netherlands can catch up with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool.
And while we're talking about book, just one thing. I know you're gonna love this. Look at this new book. Does it zoom in?
Byung-Chul Han.
Yes.
Over het verdwijnen van rituelen. Oh, The Disappearance of Rituals.
The Disappearance of Rituals. His new book. Yeah. I just started reading it, and again, it's a beauty. But I'm gonna finish it, and then I'm gonna review it, and we'll talk about it a little bit later.
Yeah, and this one I can guarantee you is available in English, because he is a professor, if I'm not mistaken, at the University of Berlin. Yeah, I mentioned him quite a bit as well. Cool. Yeah, super nice. Well, that's it. It's been an hour, because I did a 20-minute rant and you allowed me to do that. So I was really thinking in 34 minutes that, this is going to be a short one. But
it's good to have you back with a rant. And let's wrap it up.
It's good to be back. Cool. So, let's wrap it up. This is it for now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Innovation Network newsletter. If you love what we're doing and you need this in your own organization, please be aware that we also do innovation dinners. And we really, really, really would love to have more interesting clients to work with to provide these dinners where we combine C-suite executives with experts at a table and give them insights and inspiration around technological change and the possibilities of innovation or the necessity of innovation. So make sure to reach out to us if that's something that you find interesting, or if you think you know somebody who could benefit from that. It will also massively help us out if you don't forget to like and subscribe or comment to this newsletter post, or sign up for a newsletter, of course, if you like to prefer to read it. Is there anything I forgot, Patrick?
Only see you later.
Oh yeah, and like they say in the Netherlands,
See you later.
see you later.
Bridging the gap of exponential growth. Patrick and Aragorn share the truth. Join our community, let's innovate. With Innovation Network, create a brighter fate.